VoyMonk here doing a vlog. You know, I wanted to do this particular vlog with what was on my mind about expectations. And the weird thing is that what inspired this was actually, believe it or not, recently watching wrestling. I like watching wrestling, WWE and that kind of thing. Not often. I'm not an avid watcher. I don't, watch it as much as some people do and in a religious way. And I'm not saying that in a negative tone. I watched it a lot more when I was younger, and maybe that was the reason I watched it, is because I was younger. But anyways, I remember the AWA, and that's what I grew up with, being in the Midwest and that kind of thing. And not that it was better, not that it was worse. It was just, I think it's come to a different place over the years. It's become a sports entertainment. There's a lot of things, moving parts around it that, obviously create a lot of conversation. But I was speaking more specifically about expectation, because that goes hand in hand with, like I said, what inspired this vlog, which is, I think, the thing that's kind of interesting now is that, especially with WWE now, that a lot of things aren't really as secretive or kayfabe as they once used to be, about, not ruining the illusion or whatnot. I think it still kind of has some of that to a degree, but it's more of a voluntary state, for lack of a better word. But the point that I'm making is that when WWE started this last January with their first Raw being on Netflix, one of the things that I had is, in terms of I think a observation rather than a criticism, is that they made a great big deal out of the first Raw that they put on Netflix for this new deal that they had, where they had moved to there from what I believe it was Peacock. And there's still quite a bit of content you can get on Peacock, and a few too in other places. But the point is that they came in so hot. And if I'm wrong, if someone's listening and they're a wrestling fan, it's called going hot. It's also a term used in wrestling, in that when they do a lot of high flying and a lot of very spectacular feats as far as physical strength and that kind of thing, where it gets very exciting in a match, and then they use that to do a lot of other things. Sometimes it's something that they do, and then they'll go home and they'll wrap up a match. Sometimes it's a way to kind of fill, the time between the beginning and the end, whatnot. But the point is that there was always something very dangerous about using or going too hot too long or whatever. If you're a fan of Jim Cornette, you probably know what I'm talking about. I think he's discussed it pretty well on his podcast, and I don't listen to that religiously either, but I find it somewhat entertaining, here and there. And even if I don't, I'm hearing about it because it's in the world of wrestling. If you participate in, I think, just about almost any measure for the most part. But be that as it is, like I said, expectations, I think, whether it just be in life or anything that can be produced or made, which is, I think, if you lead others, whether you intend to or not, to believe things that aren't true, or things that are only true from a certain perspective, so that you can sell something, or you can do something, or you think that there is going to be some immediate gain or benefit that comes from a payoff that won't eventually come at another cost. That's what I feel, and that's what I think about expectations and where things go. And in terms of as people, as for myself, I've always found that it's nice to be exciting. It's nice to do things that get people's attention. It's nice to sell things. It's nice to do things for the short term, and get a long term gain. It's just, for me, I don't know. I think it's better to be boring and set the bar low and do what is sincere for those who seek it, rather than to pretend to be something that I'm not and be exciting and then ultimately feel a certain way when that fails. Hopefully that makes sense. Just something I'm thinking about on this Thursday's vlog. So yeah, I think that's going to be it for today. I got a Friday's vlog coming. So until then, take care.